Welcome to From Hero to Human. The title of this podcast, From Hero to Human, is there for a reason. When I was looking at concepts, type of message I want to put out there, what type of awareness I want to help people with is, as humans, we have limits. Our capacity is not infinite.
But your health is your wealth. People don't always value that. Not many people that were really trying hard to build a business like I was. So my commitment was every morning I would listen to a podcast. Environment. I wasn't happy in Edinburgh. I love it. It's the most beautiful cities in the world, but I just felt something was missing.
To make that choice, there needs to be a skill set. Filling our own cup also means investing in ourselves. Welcome to From Hero to Human, your authentic space where we are having real, raw, and necessary conversations about well-being and mental health for healthcare professionals and beyond. And when I say and beyond, every single one of us comes into contact with either a nurse or a doctor. So what we offer in this space is not a prescription, it's a choice. Awareness and choice. And the magic formula here is awareness, choice, change. So every time you have a new awareness about an issue that you are having, something that you are not happy and you want to change, there comes a choice. When you take that action, you're going to produce a different outcome. So you will hear a lot of magic formulas in these discussions. And today's episode is a special on a different level. My guest, Kelly Lundberg, is not only someone who I know personally, someone who I have worked with on my personal brand and a lot of other strategies behind the scenes, but also Kelly is someone that inspires me when it comes to physical strength and how this physical well-being translates into a healthier mindset and healthier business outcomes. So Kelly Lundberg is a personal brand strategist with a serious eye for style. A former celebrity stylist turned international speaker and best-selling author. She is a woman you call when your LinkedIn needs to work as hard as your Lamborghinis. She decides her lemons, she loves an early morning workout, and is usually in bed by 9 p.m. But don't let that fool you. Her energy is next level. She is all about helping people show up with confidence, clarity, and being unapologetically you.
Love it.
Kelly, welcome to From Hero to Human, and thank you for accepting this invite. I'm so excited.
To see you here, to be doing this, where we started from our first conversation some 14, 15 months ago. I just love it. Everything that you're doing, the energy that you bring with it, the message, and I think inspiration is one thing, but it's the impact that comes with that. So, my book.
Thank you for sharing this. And actually, I often mention in this platform that when I look for speakers, number one is the energetic match. So we don't necessarily need to speak about the same issues. We don't have to have the same mission or vision, but it's the energetic match. And I think the energetic synchronicity here is obvious. So a first question for you, something that we haven't discussed behind the scenes. Who is Kelly as a human before she comes as a brand?
Who is she? Are we looking for words or are we looking for...
Whatever is coming up for you right now.
I would say Kelly is someone who genuinely loves life. And it was interesting. I just got a voice note from my mom and she was like, oh, you're really hard on yourself. And I think that also comes back to, I'm really aware that we've got one chance.
Yeah.
And life is not a dress rehearsal. And I'm always thinking, how can I do more? How can I serve? How can I help? What else can I be doing? And with that also comes to the point of there's that conflict that you have. And I think it's ever present. And I'm constantly working through where and how is the boundaries between not necessarily burnout, but it's just going, it's okay. It's okay to have a couple of hours off. It's okay to do this. So I would say someone who's very passionate about life, someone who loves making the most of it, and who really, I really love those who are close around me. You know, I love spending time with my family. My husband might not so much. You know, I love spending time with him, my friends, my clients. My clients very much become part of my family, my world, and I still speak to clients who have long finished programs 5 or 6 years ago. So that's what comes to mind. Would you say that's a fair assumption?
The passion is really like almost shining through, right? You need to love what you are doing. And you're saying that you love life. I think, again, this is another synchronicity that comes between us because, yeah, it was my passion for what I was doing in my professional career in nursing. I was enjoying being with patients, enjoying the empowerment journey, and also enjoying empowering the caregivers. So this is how the transition happened for me. So going back to transitions, because this podcast is for the healthcare heroes. Doesn't matter whether they're in a formal caregiving capacity, because you can be a healer without working in healthcare. You can be caring for your mother, your relative, your aunt, even, you know, for someone who is not related to you. So your journey from Emirates cabin crew to now a global brand expert. Where was that pivotal moment for you where you realized this is what I want to do?
I think it's a really interesting perspective because I think we have multiple pivotal points. And I think that there's probably been 2 or 3 in sort of the last 40 years, so to speak, of going, yeah, okay, these were really huge moments. And I think there was a huge moment of understanding that environment. I wasn't happy in Edinburgh. I love it. It's the most beautiful cities in the world, but I just felt something was missing. So for me, that drove change. Of going, I want to live somewhere else. I want to explore. I'm curious. So there was that then opened up a whole, I say door, opportunity, life that I'm living now because of that decision. So environment is really key to, are you happy where you are? Personally, professionally, and what can you change about that? So that was a huge perspective and got me into working with Emirates. And then I loved what I did with Emirates. I really did. You know, the 2.5 years that I flew, that I traveled, but I could see through the people I met that there was so much more. You know, I wanted to be the passenger that was sitting in business, traveling the world, speaking to people. I wanted to be on the other side. I loved what I did, but I could see that there was so much more. And the energy that I often talk about that Dubai has is quite contagious. You know, anything's possible. The invention, you know, reinvention is not a bad thing. Reinvention is inevitable, and it's looking at it going, well, what does this new space of me look like? And new space was business owner as a celebrity stylist, but obviously didn't start as that, and worked my way up. And then I think the big pivotal moment into branding was understanding that even as a business owner, I was a brand.
Yeah.
And your business is one thing, but you will always be you. And I genuinely was so happy that at 24, when I started my first business, I was like, wow, I've locked the key to success of the dream job that I always wanted, styling people and making them feel great. I'm going to do this forever. And I think maybe many of those that are watching and that you'll have experienced do go into what they do because they love it.
Yeah.
But over time, you evolve, you change, lifestyle, environment, and different things happen. And you go, you know what? I'm meant for more. I'm meant to impact others. And that for me was, how do I do that on a bigger scale? Which was then what brought me into personal branding and the message that I share now.
Couldn't agree more there. You know, I had almost an aha moment, the awareness. Then there comes choice, and it comes a different outcome when one of my previous bosses said to me, Magda, nursing is not your passion anymore. And luckily, I accepted this as a feedback from someone who sees a potential, maybe 1 or 2 years down the line, and someone who really cares about me. And then she saw the powerhouse of transformational coaching and the results I was bringing when I was working with teams, doesn't matter, nurses, doctors, or any other team in the hospital. So yeah, the passion, it's not just for one thing in your life. So then I've realized you can have multiple passions. And then, yes, nursing was my passion. And then coaching came, mental agility framework, the beautiful framework that I have created with you that is now gaining a real traction here in the region. So, Kelly, I heard you mentioning the magic word, burnout, something that I am deeply passionate about.
Yes.
It's not about the burnout itself, but how to educate and raise awareness so people don't reach that state.
Yeah.
And when I look at you, this is clearly a thriving story.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, I have real passion for life. And I think the thriving is directly connected to I love life.
Yeah.
So what's your magic prescription there?
Oh, the magic prescription. I have to say it's been a gradual process. And what's been, I think, quite fascinating is one of the things I do quite religiously is write a desire statement. So for those that are wondering what a desire statement is, it's this future version of this self, me, this letter that I write, but who I've become. So it's in the past tense. I'm already that person. And I've looked back on ones over the years and you pick a date in the future and let's just say it's 6 months. I've never become necessarily exactly that person in the 6 months. It's been a gradual process, but I looked back on one recently and it said, I love my evening routine. I go to bed at 10 p.m. and I get up at 6 a.m. And I'm like, who is this person? I go to bed at 7:30, 9 because my morning routine is very much 4:30. And for me, the energy that I get first thing in the morning, the routine of consistency, because I was that person that would work out 3 times a week. And then I would give myself permission to sleep in on the other days. But I just love it. So for me, the regular routine of up at 4:30, go and do my steps, go to the gym, this brings me so much energy. For someone else, that might be a release of energy at the end of the day. But I think what I mean by writing those desire statements and becoming really clear on what's right for you. And that for me has been an evolution over the last kind of 7 years of going, and I say 7 years because it's when I can start sort of thinking about when I first did them. Part of my routine is I get up, I feel great, I do the gym in the morning, it brings me a lot of energy. And then I don't need to worry about that part of my life, the personal piece of filling my cup. And I feel strong. And with that comes, I feel good in my clothes. And I can give so much more when I stand on stage because I feel better about myself. So I would say that's been a huge part of feeling good and being able to serve others.
Yeah.
And getting not caught up, I suppose, at the other end of the day of going, do you know what? I go to bed at 8 o'clock, 8:30, 9 o'clock. And, people question that, but I give so much throughout the day that I'm okay with, oh, you have a boring life. No, I have a very fulfilled life, but my life just doesn't look like I stay up till 11 or 12 o'clock at night. That's just not me. So I think there's that. I think I do a lot of short holidays. Don't ask me to go away for 2 weeks. That would make me feel uncomfortable. I really like short breaks and lots of them. And that for me, it works. I don't have to fit around kind of school holidays or anything like that. So again, it's about finding things that work for you.
Yes.
Just because people say a 2-week holiday brings you the refreshing change, it actually brings me stress. And I'd rather do 5 days or 6 days or a week because that's what works for me. So I think it's a huge part of learning to understand what works for you that adds to that.
Love it. So the magic prescription is that there is no magic prescription.
Yeah. And it's personal to everyone. I think that's the huge piece. It's personal to everyone. But the biggest aspect when it comes to sort of the thriving piece and filling your own cup, I think, as people like to talk about, is I schedule it. So if you look at my diary, you will see that my priorities are in it. And it is the gym. It is, we're going for a walk with a friend.
Yeah.
That's in the diary.
Yeah.
And I'll book that 3 weeks in advance. It doesn't bother me because I know that that's a commitment that I prioritize.
I love it. So here is to filling our cups
Yes, with sparkly water.
with sparkly water. No deseeded lemon, but for next.
Well, there's no pips
discussion.
in it, so that's fine.
So what comes actually to my mind now? Scheduling time for well-being, scheduling time for filling your own cup. As I often share in discussions on this platform and other platforms, when you work in corporate, and I used to be that person a few years back, I introduced a quite a radical initiative. Being ahead of the department, I scheduled processing time during my day. On one occasion, I became frustrated and angry when my calendar was booked with 7, 8 back-to-back 1-hour meetings with literally no time to breathe. So here comes the processing break, which is literally 15 minutes. I close the door, I sit with myself, and I feel in my body what is happening. If there is any tension, any stress, what do I need to do? Just a mental check-in with myself. Because in healthcare roles, we often check on our patients. But there is still the hero narrative and a huge stigma in healthcare that we forget to fill our own cup. We forget to take action when the body is sending a clear message, I am stressed. You need to stop. You need to stop pushing. But the hero narrative is still quite dominant in there, and the hero is always available, the cape is always on, and we continue flying around. So a question for you. I'm asking for another magic prescription in here.
Yeah.
How to start approaching this topic and not feeling guilty for addressing our own needs before we start pouring for others.
You know, it's again, guilt's a very personal thing as to why we feel it. But ultimately, I feel if you want to show up as the person, I think most of us want to show up as this person that's, you know, not got all our stuff together, because no one does. I think that's a narrative that's out of date. But I think all of us know, do you know what, we could improve this part a little bit better, or we could do this. And I think knowing that you don't go and do it all in one go is huge. And I think that in itself is going, what's one thing that I could maybe get better at? Or could, you know what, my diary is so busy, but if I could just prioritize 5,000 steps, or if I could just prioritize even just something simple, that my sister and I don't get a lot of time to speak. She's got 3 children. She works quite set hours in a school. Our time difference of where we live, but we schedule the time in. And I think that filling the cup in is not just exercise, it's filling time in with, again, it's okay to put a recurring meeting with a family member in your diary, because then you know it's going to happen. I'm a huge believer in, often if it doesn't get scheduled, it gets ignored. But I'm a huge one for productivity. I always want to know, how can I be more productive? Because how can I get more done in the day? And how can I achieve this? And I did a course recently with Oliver Burke. I don't know if you know who he is. And he studied time management skills for many years. He's written the book 4,000 Weeks. Again, someone very much about time. But the way that he described time, how much we have, we never will manage to do everything we manage to say we do. And how can we manage to at least do the things that make us feel good? And little tips that I learned from that, I would say, have honestly changed the way that I look at, it's not about the next hack in saving time. It's actually about, how can I look at things, for example, a to-do list, rather than feeling like I have to call my sister and I do this and I do this and I need to work out and I need to do this. Pick 1 or 2 things, but know that's always going to be things on your list that you're never going to finish. And actually going, everyone's like that. And he gave this wonderful example. So I don't know if anyone's watching and listening, and if you ever felt like this in the past, where you've got emails of things that you want to come back and read. You've got a bedside full of books that you want to complete. You've got YouTube videos that you're like, oh, that's really good. And he gave this one tip that I was like, wow. And he's like, put them all on one list on your phone or have them all somewhere. So, and he said, and just create a menu. And instead of thinking that you've got to get to the bottom of everything, go to your menu and pick one thing off your menu, like you would in a restaurant.
Wow.
And do that one thing. And honestly, it was like, okay. Because when you go to a restaurant and you see a menu, you don't want to eat everything off it. Well, maybe some people do. I don't know.
Eat all you can?
Yeah, exactly. It depends what restaurant it is. But the idea of that just positioning in the mind, for me, even going, someone who wants to achieve so much, it's just going, okay, do you know what? Pick one thing. And then it's okay. And back to that piece that my mum was going, sometimes you can be hard. And I think we all can be. And going, do you know what? It's okay. It's okay.
You know, the title of this podcast, From Hero to Human, is there for a reason. When I was looking at concepts, you know, what type of message I want to put out there, what type of awareness I want to help people with, is that as humans, we have limits. Our capacity is not infinite. We are not the Superman or a Spider-Man continuously on the go and continuously helping others. And concept of time management, I do whole training sessions about that. Time management is an outdated concept, is self-management. So if we have 24 hours on the clock, it's on us. How am I gonna schedule myself? What I'm gonna do with my energy? How I will allocate this energy? Where do I want to be? What is my priority? And another quite new concept is the to-do list. It used to be a rigid, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I need to tick 5 or even 25 boxes per day. And then we create a lot of stress for ourselves when we create lists that are unrealistic, that are definitely exceeding our capacity. So I would say this is where the guilt comes at the end of the day. I'm a failure. I haven't completed my to-do list. Next day is the same scenario. And imagine week after week after week, we are sitting in the same scenario. But the magic prescription that you have mentioned again, the key is in simple solutions. So we are not rediscovering the wheel here or even discovering America. There are simple, small solutions that you can try on an individual level. And this also produce big systemic changes. Because if you are a leader in an organization, if you are able to manage yourself better, your stress level is better, you are healthier, you are happy, you are productive, you showing up with this, big ass energy, your people are gonna feel it.
Yeah, I think there's a huge thing that I hear, especially from clients that I work with that have children. But I think that there is so much in that space of what are we teaching our children. And just this week, I had a client who was talking about the fact that she goes to the gym and she's very dedicated going to the gym. But her daughter knows that if she wants her hair done by mummy, then she has to get up a little bit earlier because mommy goes to the gym. And she doesn't like when daddy does the hair. And I love the fact that, they had the conversation. Do you know what? If you want mommy to do your hair tomorrow, mommy's got to work out, so you have to get up a wee bit earlier. If you're okay with that, then I'd love to do your hair. And the control is in the daughter's favor, but also it's that mum's going to do something for mum, but it's not that I'm prioritizing. It's not that you're secondary. It's just there's time and self-management. I think that's wonderful.
And again, this is about rewriting the narrative because we've been conditioned in specific ways, right? Motherhood, let's say 20, 30 years ago, it used to be a woman that sits at home and looks after the children and, does all the chores that are necessary. And then we now talk about mental health, how to live sustainably. So how to take care of ourselves. And it's not only the body, it's mind, body, and spirit. And the examples that we are setting for future generations, right? So you being in an influencer space, you are putting a strong message out there. And the message I hear from you, I hear and I see, is that pouring into my own cup but I'm talking about the physical. So the way I take care of myself on a physical level is gonna produce a stronger and a healthier mindset and any other component. Some people say spirituality, some people say soul level, any other higher calling that you are having in there. So I want to ask almost a chicken and egg question. Is it a strong mindset that is producing a stronger body, or do you start with physical strength that is supporting a strong mindset?
Oh, I think in some ways it probably starts with mindset, because there has to be that level of commitment of you wanting to lead a life with a stronger body. Because I think I've seen friends, I've seen clients where they're very good at what they do, but they don't prioritize their health. And I really do feel, and this feels rich coming from me in the industry that you've been in, but your health is your wealth. And I really find it's so fascinating that people don't always value that. We can't get that back. And I want to do everything I possibly can to be able to continue to live this life. But I would say the mindset probably for me started first of going, but I want to make sure I consistently go to the gym. That's a bit of mindset. I think there's mindset in the ability to be able to commit to getting up at 4:30 in the morning. And then you start to see the results, and then it becomes I'm seeing the results. Keep with that.
Super powerful message in there. So again, no prescriptions. We just need to see and try something that works for us and then go with it. Because I'm having many different conversations. Is it the mindset? Is it the body? Or is it the other way around? So I think whatever works for us, whatever clicks in your brain, okay, I have a strong mindset. That's why I am able to go to the gym and, really invest. It's not only the gym, it's the nutrition. And when I talk about the nutrition, I talk about the concept of healthy brain diet. So it's not only what you eat, but who you eat it with. Also the social feed or social media feed. What news are you reading? What's your take on this?
I would say I'm very disconnected from a lot of things that happen outside. I don't watch TV. I don't watch news. If I watch something, it would be like a box set that there's no advert. So I'm not exposed, and I never have been. Like I didn't get a telly until I got married. It's never been a thing. And I think that's from being an expat for 25 years, that it was never a go-to. So TV's not part of my life, unless nowadays it's something that I can put on the laptop or something. And we do have a TV now. I'm not sure I'd get away with that now. But I would say, from that perspective, it is what you feed your mind, what you read, who you hang out with. Like, I think that's huge. I remember years ago when I felt quite alone in my business journey. So we may be talking 15 years ago. I felt that there were not many people that were really trying hard to build a business like I was. So my commitment was every morning I would listen to a podcast. And there was this daily podcast at the time, Entrepreneur on Fire. He did daily podcasts. I went down. There were usually 35 minutes. I did a walk, and that filled me and inspired me that I wasn't necessarily getting from going to networking events, or because there wasn't, Dubai wasn't, it didn't have as many opportunities as it does now 15, 16 years ago. And that was a huge part of mindset, brain health, brain diet. That whole Jim Rohn quote, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And I think that's really important.
And there is science behind it, circling back to the thriving story of yours. We thrive when we have a good support network around us. So like, for example, you talk a lot about female entrepreneurs. You work with a lot of female clients. But what I see in my space, I've started the career transition and started, I wouldn't say at the bottom. It's like a continuum, right? So you need to go through the process. You need to go through the journey. There is a lot of competition when you start. And I see spaces where women compete instead of supporting each other. Have you also come across these type of situations?
I think there's always going to be that. But I don't look for it and I don't see it. I'm sure there are, but for me, I think very much, and I think it depends on the industry. And I think as well, I think it can be more obvious in certain industries where you kind of own your own business unless in that space of doing it. So I think if you go looking for it, I'd find it everywhere. But I think there's so much of life shows us a mirror. And I think there can often be that reflection. So if we're looking in that space of going, I'm feeling really envious, jealous, or, I want to compete with that person. If you're feeling that, guaranteed your audience around you will be feeling that, or the people around you will be doing that. And it's something that I've worked a lot with with my coach is when I'm going through something or something's happening, then take a look at who's come into your life and what is that reflecting, and look at the mirror and hold that up. And I think that's a really profound way to look at challenges that we're going through in life, of going, well, what is this reflecting? Yes. Am I that person? Yes. Maybe you are a bit. Oh, okay. So if I change myself and I'm honest with myself that, yeah, I am, I want to be that, then the environment will then start to change around you as well.
Love it, love it, love it. Use of a mirror, whether it's a physical one or metaphorical one, is something that I do a lot in the coaching sessions. And so it's the mirror on one side, and then is the drama triangle, so the victim reality. If I'm sitting in that position complaining about others, mirror is very often a good wake-up call.
Yeah.
So it's like to get that awareness, right? I look at myself, awareness, choice, change. And when I said at the beginning, it's a magic formula. To make that choice, there need to be a skill set after that awareness. So I heard you talking about passion for life, always being excited and wanted to know how I can do things in a better way. So I can be more sustainable with my business. I can have a stronger body that is going to support my vision in life. So a question in here is, what skills do you have, or the skills that you grew through your life that helped you act on that initial awareness?
So I think now looking back, one of the things that I try and encourage clients to do personal branding, because it's something that I've done myself, is skill stacking. So how do we stack different skills so that we become so uniquely us? Like, there is no one that's got the experience that you have. Yep, there's plenty of people that have got the nursing experience, but adding in the coaching, adding in the travel, adding in your family growing up, all of those things, it's all you, and all of those skills that you learn from that. And I look back at what are the things that's allowed me to get to this point, is being exposed, I would say, to travel and to meet so many people that I know if I had personally stayed in my home country, I wouldn't have been exposed to. So that travel element of variety of people have awakened my senses of going, oh, do you know what? What about this? Have you done this? And I think I was a late developer in this, but I got my first coach at 25, 26, my first business coach. I had no idea. I remember telling my mom, we have a very close relationship, and I said, Mom, I've hired a coach. And she was like, okay. And she honestly thought I'd joined a cult. So this is we're talking 20 years ago. And I said, I've spent this amount of money. How much money? I don't even think I told her the full amount, but I would honestly say that the person that introduced me to learning from someone else has propelled me in so many ways that for me, constantly investing in other people and your skill set at the time of I need this has honestly helped me. So in the beginning, it was very generalist kind of coaching, business. And then as you grow, it's got more specific. I've worked with coaches in finance. I've worked with coaches in advertising and meta ads and all of this. I've worked with sales. They've all come at very different points in my career, but I've learned so much, and all of those things have all compounded into the skills that I'm able to do now, the public speaking, the storytelling, from jobs I used to do to getting better at it through that. Learning from others, I would honestly say, is the best investment. And I really love, I think it's an Alex Hermosi kind of statement he talks about, where he says instead of the S&P 500, which, okay, forget where current stocks and shares are, but listen, if we invested $10,000 into the S&P 500, if we got 10% back, would we be happy? Maybe, yeah, if it was consistent.
Yeah.
What is that? How much? $1,000 back? If you invest in the S&P 500, can you make more than $1,000 back? 100%. 100%. And that's what I think investing in you is one of the best things you can ever do financially long term from the compound interest, but just in the wealth of knowledge that you don't live long enough to make all the mistakes yourself. So learn from others. And the faster you do that, I believe the richer the life you will have, not just financially, but emotionally and everything else that goes with that.
Love it. So what is showing up in front of me now, that when we fill our own cup, filling our own cup also means investing in ourselves. It's not only the mind and body and everything else, the rituals, but literally upgrading our skills. And I think it was Stephen Bartlett who said you need to have that competitive advantage. So I'm a nurse. What else do I need to add to really stand out in the market?
Yeah.
And because of you, I have the mental agility framework, which is now a talk of the town almost. I am grateful. I am blessed. Is coming to a big tables, and we're having a real conversations about it. But it almost took a courage to put myself out there and believe, because initially when I started, I didn't even understand what's behind that framework. So learning and failing and trying things to almost master it to a level that no one else can master it. And as you said, you are you, and no one else has your background, your experience, your education, and so on. So when we talk about failure, have you ever had a moment, whether it was a career pivot, so moving from one industry to the other, when you thought to yourself, oh my God, what if this fails?
I think at some point we always have a moment where we go, what if this fails? Like I have moments where I'm like, what if no one buys my book? What if no one shows up to this event? You know, I think there are always going to be moments of that. And I think no matter where or what you do, there's always this, what if something doesn't happen? But it's interesting. People always say to me, you know, what's been a failure and what have you learned? And I think it's a mindset thing, and it sounds very cliche, but there's never anything that I'm like, oh, that was a total failure. Have I looked at things and gone, nah, maybe I shouldn't have invested in that, or oh, I learned from this. A funny example, the other day I got some water bottles made with some personal brand and gym quotes on them, and I thought, you know, just kind of test with 2030, and I wanted them to have to sell, and I ordered the wrong ones. And I think, you know, it's so tiny. When they arrived, I was so annoyed with myself. And then I was like, what does it matter? They're actually great gifts. And I've gifted them all this past week. And the messages I've had from people, oh, this is so nice. Thanks so much. Oh, that's really nice. It wasn't a failure. Was it a mistake? Yeah, I ordered the wrong ones. But has it been a failure? No. And there's been many things in sort of businesses that I've started that they've worked really well for 6 months, and then I've decided it doesn't work for me anymore, or that's not right. And then I've gone, okay, let's move on. Is that a failure? It worked at the time. So I find the whole failure, you know, failure piece. Did I have a marriage that failed? Well, it ended. Yeah. Was it a failure? Was it a disaster the whole time? No. And I think that is the whole thing where we use the choice of words and how honest are we? If we believe that that marriage was a failure, but was there some bits that were great, then maybe it wasn't a failure. It was just, it ended. Things end. And that's it.
Yeah, another synergy point in here. I talk a lot and I practice something called a healthy vocabulary. So if my definition of failure is something very negative, something that makes me feel bad about myself, is a finite point that nothing else can be done, and there is absolutely nothing positive in that situation, I'm gonna show it, right? Perception is projection. So I'm gonna be stressed, people around me are stressed, and then I am stuck in that failure position, not able to move forward. So even reframing or rephrasing, right? If it's an opportunity to learn. And I've noticed is hard for people to understand how can you try to find positive in a failure situation. But it's definitely a mindset hack when you start shifting the vocabulary to a one that is future oriented, right? Because we don't want to be stuck. Feeling stuck is the worst feeling you can have. You're feeling stressed, you're feeling bad or guilty about yourself, you don't know what to do. So why not to be kind to ourselves? It's almost a part of my well-being routine that I'm gonna be using a vocabulary that is kind to me.
And I think on that, the vocabulary, because I know you and I have a word that we don't particularly like when people use.
Busy?
Yeah, absolutely. It was exactly that. And I find it a really, you know what, I put busy and nice in the same category because I feel like nice doesn't really explain anything. And I feel busy is the same. Oh, I'm busy. And I'm really conscious that if I have got a lot going on, that I actually explain. So like if I was speaking to my husband, for example, and he goes, how's your day? Oh, we're super busy. It doesn't add anything. So I think what it goes back to is one of the things that I've learned is to be honest with yourself and being honest with what you were doing. How was your day? What a lot on. I did X, Y, and Z, and I really got this from this, and I got this from this. It adds so much more to what it is that you're doing, and then helps with communication within relationships. But I think on from that, absolutely using the vocabulary that leads with and with positive intentions, but is not to be fake positive.
Yes.
And I think that there's a lot of going around in the personal development world is, you know, I must be happy. I am happy. I am happy. I am happy. and I hate my life.
Yeah.
And I think that is the honesty piece of going, where am I right now? And when you start describing things versus going, I'm busy, or it was nice, or it wasn't, then so much more comes with it. And I think I've taken that a lot from working with a coach recently on those kind of areas.
Yeah, part of my mental agility framework is actually having a executive well-being vocabulary. So if we want to find these solutions and move ourselves and our teams forward, we need to start using an upgraded vocabulary that is kind to our brain and also looks at opportunities and solutions, not keeps us stuck. And one anecdote that I share from my healthcare days, I used to work as a director of nursing in a private hospital. And during daily huddles, nurses will come to the huddle, how are you? I'm busy. How are you? I'm busy. How are you? I'm busy. I got to the point of anger and frustration. Why? I don't understand what they're saying. On the other hand, I can see that they are stressed. Why? They don't understand what they're saying. When I ask a question during a huddle, can you give me a definition of busy? There was an overwhelming silence in that room. I said, can you give me a dictionary definition of a busy? Silence. What's your definition of busy? And then is that looking in the mirror situation. Okay, I'm struggling. So I'm struggling. I have too many patients. I had incident in my unit. But at the same time, I am not vocalizing this. So no one knows what is going on. My boss is coming to the unit and asking, how are you, busy? And I'm running off. So she cannot help me because I'm not asking for help. So I've discovered that it stops people from asking for help
Yeah.
because perhaps they want to be in that hero narrative.
Yeah.
They're conditioned this way. And we continue doing what we've always done. So busy healthcare environments are busy. A lot of corporate environments are busy, and people keep living in that narrative. But very often the narrative is not healthy. It's actually producing a lot of stress, unnecessary stress. And now when we live in the stress epidemic, we have workplace loneliness epidemic and so on. Where I'm going with this question, we are in leadership evolution. So there is a strong movement in the world that I see globally towards human-oriented leadership. So a leader who is first recognizing their own humanity. So I recognize I have limits. I get stressed. Sometimes I get stuck. Sometimes I'm using a negative vocabulary. Leader who recognize their own humanity is in a much better position to recognize that human in front of them.
I think it's also a very simple exercise, but to ask those around you, what's something I say a lot? And audit, so to speak. And when I do kind of workshops or I go into corporate organizations, we talk about one of the framework pieces is style and your vocal style and how do you come across and the words that you choose. And often people have filler words and they create their either own filler words or a word that they say all the time. And it's quite funny because I'll be with, I'll see a group and then someone will nudge, you always say this. Or, you always say this. And it might be, you always say you're busy. Like I've got a really good friend, one of my best friends actually, she says, I know, but, like all the time. And then I'll say, and she'll go, I know. And it's on the tip of her tongue. And I have, there was someone else who was telling me that they always say, actually. And what is that highlighting? Why are we feeling that busy? What does that mean to you? So that other people can help you. And I think being aware of maybe words that we overuse. This morning I had a client who I've noticed uses the word confusion a lot. But then I would also take the mirror and go, okay, what is it everything else that you've got going on? But I would say I've never heard a client say confusion, maybe 10, 15 times in all aspects. So is that a word that's replacing something else? Are you actually confused? Or is it that you don't know X or that Y?
I love it. So when it comes to leadership evolution, you mentioned audit, personal audit. We also mentioned the mirror. So, but I also know that looking in the mirror is one of the hardest things for people to do. Why? Because you need to almost strip all the layers and you are bearing everything in front of that mirror. And very often the truth is uncomfortable. So what advice do you have for leaders who are now looking at positioning themselves in the human-oriented leadership capacity? They haven't done any work previously in personal branding. They don't know where to start.
I think often we are inspired by others around us. So I think there's a huge piece of looking at who's around us and going, well, who's inspiring me? What are they doing? What am I maybe not doing? And it's not a copy. It's what do I like about that? Because we can be inspired by lots of things. I'm inspired by a TV show that I watch and I want to go on holiday there, for example, or I want to be inspired by a book I've read or whatever. But I think looking at those around going, I'd like to have that impact. What do I need to do? So being inspired, first of all, and looking at others, I think is a great place to start. And then, auditing, where are we now? What are people saying? The whole thing about personal branding, I think that people get really caught up with is thinking it is this self-promotion show. And we've really moved on from the self-promotion. And I actually think it is very much personal brand if you consider it to be much more, it's humanizing your brand. And that piece, if you start looking at it from a, how do I make someone feel? That is personal branding. It's not, I'm thrilled to announce on LinkedIn, I just got my latest promotion. It is much more about how are we impacting those around us. I will still say to this day that one of my favorite compliments I got at the end of a workshop, in a corporate workshop, I always ask everyone, what's one thing you're going to action? Sure, I'd love them to do 10, but let's be realistic. If they walk away and complete one thing from spending time with me, that means I feel I did a good job. And this gentleman had said, you know, I have realized that I'm going to do X. And he said, this update LinkedIn, whatever it was. And he said, but do you know what I'm going to do? He said, on my way home, I'm going to stop and buy my wife a bouquet of flowers, because I realize the personal brand starts at home and with me. And it's how I make my wife feel, my children feel. It's not just in the workplace. And I was just, mic drop moment, you know, it was like, wow, this is it. Because yeah, we spend a third of our life at work, but also what are we doing? Why are we in the relationship? Family, lead by example. Leadership is not just what we're doing in an office, in the hospital, in the facility. It's what we're doing at home.
It's the human, right? So the mask on the table.
Humanizing.
I think if those leaders who are watching, even if not in formal leadership capacity, if you want to start looking at a human-oriented leadership, do the audit. Am I sitting in the hero capacity?
Yeah.
What are the people around me saying?
Yeah.
What are the people around me feeling? Because you say, how, it's not what I did or what I said, is how I made people feel. That's Maya Angelou that said it many years ago. And it's often this type of feedback when it becomes a norm and it's clear that people feel good around you, they feel safe. So you create that psychologically safe environments where people can express themselves and take that interpersonal risk. I think you are in the right space.
Yeah, absolutely. And this whole the legacy thing that people get really caught up in about the legacy we're going to leave behind. I really feel quite strongly about that, because I feel that legacy isn't future. Legacy is now. And that whole piece relates back to your brand and how you make people feel now, today, in the office, at work, wherever you are. That's it. Not how much money am I going to leave in the bank? Who's going to remember how I do this? I feel really strongly about, you know, I'm creating a legacy for the future.
Wow.
Now.
Wow. You know what? I feel emotional when you said it. And the legacy piece, I attended a nursing symposium last week, and the feedback that came from participants after the mental agility session, it was like, first of all, real human connection. People felt safe to come to me and say, oh my God, I didn't know this about stress. Oh my God, I didn't know that I have to prioritize my well-being. And, you know, and I made a comment back then, this is my legacy. And thank you, Kelly. You just gave me a massive awareness now. Legacy is now. It's not what is going to happen in 20 years. One of the most powerful discussions on From Hero to Human. So any final message from you about sustainability when it comes to mind, body, and soul?
It's you. It all starts with you. And I think the biggest thing is you can't change if you don't want to, but the change has got to come from you, and everything's in your hands. And I really do just wake up every single day. On my way to the gym in the morning, I ask myself a series of questions, and then I email them to my inbox. And it's a nice reminder, because I don't delete the email until I see, and it's 3 things that I'm grateful for every day. And sometimes it's harder because you want to keep thinking of different things, but ultimately is I woke up and someone else didn't. And I think when you realize that, it's like, well, how can I impact the people today? Not in 10 years' time, not in 20 years' time, it's today. And when we look at that, and it's just showing up as that version, the best one you are today, and then each day you can get better. But it's now, it's for the now.
Wow. So From Hero to Human is about a real human, and the change starts with you. If you want to see a positive change in your ecosystem, look in that mirror, do the audit, and see what you can do on a personal level to motivate yourself and to influence that person around you. So do hit that subscribe button, join our platform, do share your comments and feedback. I really appreciate it. It not only it motivates me to do more, but also it helps me with choosing the future topics, with choosing my guests. So as this conversation and the platform continue growing, I am grateful to be in that space. So thank you for every single one of you who is with us on that journey. And thank you, Kelly, for this super energizing and human connection today.
My pleasure. And you asked fabulous questions. I really loved the opportunity to dive into different topics. And I am so proud of seeing what you've done and the impact that you're doing. It makes me so, so, so happy.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.